Good morning, happy hump day, and welcome into the number one Group of Five football podcast ever. We are the Group of Five guys. If you're new here, our mission is to be the voice for the Group of Five football programs, the voice that the mainstream sports media just absolutely will not be. We need everybody's help to do that. Follow us on all the social platforms at Group of Five Guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or the Varsity app by Learfield. Subscribe to the channel, leave a 5-star rating and a review. Most important thing you could do is tell your family and friends all about us. On this episode, conference realignment, got to talk about it. Coaches on the hot seat, got to talk about it. And most importantly, an early Thursday night Sun Belt showdown between South Alabama and App State. Got to talk about that and plenty more. Hope you enjoyed the show. Have you had it from somebody born and raised in Lafayette, Louisiana, at a tailgate? Doubt it.
I said Michael Pratt has got to show up and play, and boy did he. 394 yards, 4 touchdowns, 48 rushing yards on the ground, and another touchdown.
Projected getting drafted between the first and third round. Like, that's incredible. The wide receivers are absolutely stacked for the Group of Five.
Yeah, I really appreciate you do for the Group of Five programs, and I think it's great. I think we should get more of this. But you guys are on the forefront of this, and
I'm thankful for this. I'm glad that you're talking about the Group of Five because I think they get overlooked.
But it's a ton of fun to watch a guy go to the NFL from a Nevada or a Colorado State or a Middle Tennessee or an App State, and fans follow that kid.
Jeff, one of our goals is to bring the fans the best Group of Five football content in the world. And on this Wednesday, you can see I got bags under my eyes. And that's why I'm thankful, Jeff, that we have partnered with a coffee company trying to bring the best damn coffee to the world. And I need it bad today. Wednesday morning, nice hot cup of Deca Gray Coffee Company. This is the game day roast. I got to order another bag of game day roast. I think I'm about to be out on that. I got to order some stuff from Devin over there. But Deca Gray Coffee Company, visit decagray.com. Use our promo code GOFG. 10% off, free shipping. Get you a Group of Five guys game day dark roast. Custom blend just for us. Roast to order. It's not sitting on the shelf somewhere at the Walmart or Publix or anything like that. And the shipping's real quick too. So shout out to Deca Gray. Make sure you guys support these guys trying to support us and helping us, a brand, a company getting behind us as we try to fight this fight that seems like, I think we're making progress, but it's also still feels a little uphill.
It's definitely uphill. And with companies like Deca Gray and another family-owned business, we got to support each other. That's what this is all about. And I tell you what, if I didn't have it, I'd be in big trouble because last week or so, I'm a 2-cup-a-day guy now. I mean, it's just these 5 a.m.s. This is express. You're 6 a.m. Eastern. This is 5 a.m. for me. So I usually get up about 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Get out of bed, brush the old canines, as you like to say, and start get moving. Pour my cup of Deca Gray coffee and get out here in the pod. Start getting everything prepped and ready, grinding it out. So shout out to them for supporting us. Go check them out.
There's no doubt. Well, yeah, and I do have that. I do have that delayed brew. So I set it at night, 5:15 in the morning. Starts beeping, starts dripping into the pot there. It's very nice. It's nice to have it already made. You know what I mean? I wake up, all I got to do is just pour it in the cup. And I got see this cup I got today, Jeff?
What do you got there?
Georgia State Parks. This is from the Providence Canyon. Out here in South Georgia. They call it the Little Grand Canyon. It's like a little miniature canyon. You get you do some hiking, you do some trail, some trails, some climbing, crossing some rivers, some streams. Pretty good time out there. Anyway, we got more conference realignment, which I feel like this is happening now earlier and earlier every season. The two kind of off-topic subjects we have to cover today, seems like they've been happening earlier and earlier in the season and at random times at this point when we talk about conference realignment and we talk about these coaches that are potentially getting hired and fired all over the place. Now, this conference realignment, so the latest news, right? Everybody saw last week we were on here, or maybe just Monday we were on here, talking about Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, and San Diego State to the Pac, whatever they're going to call it, Pac 6 at this point. Now rumors swirling about Air Force to the American. So it seems like the Mountain West is kind of getting picked off right now, which is interesting to me because in my opinion, they've been one of the strong conferences that we've had. But then you're also hearing, the Memphis and the Tulane now to this Pac-12. And I'm still not sure, Jeff, if is it going to be considered a power conference or what?
To my knowledge, no, because they're not. They're going to be getting the fifth. They'll be lumped in with the fifth bid, automatic qualifying bid for the college football playoff. So in my mind, they're not going to be like SEC, Georgia, or geez, my brain cannot work. The Big 10, Big 12, SEC, and those conferences in the ACC, where they get the four of those five, and the Pac-12 or 8 or 6, I guess they'll have to get to 8 to be a legitimate conference.
Yeah.
They'll be lumped in with the rest. So that's why you see a lot of these pundits calling it Group of 6. So we'll see what happens with it. From the American standpoint, I get why they're trying to get Air Force because you already have Army and Navy. So it keeps the complete, kind of commander in chief's game and trophy and all that stuff in your conference. Not sure how they're going to work that out because the Army and Navy game is not a conference game. So you bring Air Force in. Not sure how they're going to work that out. But I'll tell you what, if you're a defensive coordinator in the American, you are not
Could you imagine
looking to play 3 academies every single year. That'd be.
I mean, on the positive note of that, you'll see it all the time, and you'll be, you play any of the 3, you're pretty much, different variations, but it's very similar offense, very similar assignments for the defense, right? If you miss an assignment, they're gone. So that'll be nice that they'll be seeing it all the time. But you're right. I mean, defensive linemen are just going to be. I mean, they better put on their biggest knee braces they got for those games.
Cut all the time.
I do wonder because it also, to me, it wouldn't be fair to like Air Force. If Air Force plays both Army and Navy and it's a conference game and Army and Navy don't play or play each other, but it doesn't count in the conference, that wouldn't be quite right, I don't think. So I don't know. And are they still going to play every year? A lot of this conference realignment, that's
Very
the big
true.
thing people are upset about is these old historic rivalries are no longer being played every year. So surely they would play that. But again, now is that now 2 conference games or is it 2? Do you need to pick up? It's normally like those are their 2 non-conference games. Navy's going to play Army, Air Force, Notre Dame every year. They're going to do it. So now how do they work that out? I don't know. I'll tell you this though, that Pac-12 or whatever it is, especially if they went and got Memphis and Tulane, if they don't consider it a power conference, I mean, that'd be a conference better than the Big 12 by any stretch.
Absolutely.
I mean, you give me the top teams in the Mountain West, the top teams in the American. That's a damn good conference because now we've talked about this before with the Mountain West and the American. Their top teams, in my opinion, I like when we question Mountain West, American, Sun Belt, what's better? And I always say Sun Belt top to bottom is deeper. But I've always thought that your top teams, and I should say top programs from the Mountain West and the American are the better programs at this point in time. And so you take 5 or 6 of the top Group of 5 programs, put them all in the same conference, add you a Washington State and Oregon State, a building potentially UNLV, a building hopefully Colorado State. I mean, That's a better conference than most of them.
Yeah, and the thing that we've seen this with Cal and Stanford going to the ACC, like that's a factor you have to factor in. If Memphis and Tulane end up going to the Pac-12, you got to factor in. I know football it won't matter as much, travel expenses, but it definitely matters when volleyball has to go out to the West Coast multiple times a year. And same with Memphis. Like that's not a quick travel. On a Tuesday and Thursday when baseball's got to go out there. And I know you try and make it a longer trip, but then you're talking about your student athletes missing a week or two of school straight. Like, yeah, I can do it online and I get all that, but it's just something you got to factor in. The big budgets, whereas Cal and Stanford, that might not affect them as much. It's probably going to affect the bottom dollar of Tulane and Memphis, which seems like they got a lot of money coming in, at least on the NIL side. Memphis does with FedEx. But it's just something you got to think about. And, being, some people are calling it'd be the best of the rest. How does that affect, the other conferences as far as getting the playoff bid now moving forward after that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that conference going to beat up on each other where they're going to each the champion of that new conference is going to have 2-3 losses, and then you'll have a 1-loss MAC team maybe, or an undefeated Conference USA team?
Mm-hmm.
Is the committee going to be biased towards that Pac-12 conference because of the brand recognition the conference has had? I don't know. There's a lot of layers to this thing, and not sure exactly how it's going to shape out. But Barry Odom, I want to go to his clip real quick. He had some thoughts on the Mountain West and all this stuff.
I know that the Mountain West is a strong conference. I don't know, enough details about the leaving of those 4 schools, what they're stepping into. A lot of unknown, it would seem like to me at this point. It has zero effect on how we're going to approach the next 9 games. I've always been a very strong believer in, wherever your feet are, be there and do the job that you need to do, and everything else is going to take care of itself. So, there's so many conversations I would imagine going on in the world of college football with realignment and conference affiliation. And if I spend really any wasted time on that thought, then I'm not doing what I need to do for our team. If I can get this team to continue to make improvements in all 3 areas, and our culture stays strong, and we recruit to the level that we're recruiting to, and we keep doing all those small day-to-day habits, UNLV will be on the national stage no matter where we are for years to come.
I just love Barry Odom. I love his mojo.
I do too.
I love, we've got the chance to talk to him several times now on the show, and he just seems like he's very calculated, calm, cool, and collective. I'd imagine he's that way on game day too.
Yeah, getting to know him, having him on the show a couple of times and talk. We always talk before and after we record, and you really get to know their personality and stuff a little bit. Yeah, it kind of leads me into our next subject, Jeff, because I think he's going to be a name that comes up. So when we're talking coaches on the hot seat here, I don't think there's anybody in the group of 5 that would fire a coach this early. I don't think. But we know there's teams in the SEC that are wanting to do it now. And so this is where, this conference realignment, I know, like Coach Odom said, it's not going to change the way they prepare and all of that stuff. But to a degree, he is getting questions about it now. He's going to get that question every week. He gets up on the press conference. You're going to get players are going to start getting questions like that. So it can be a distraction. But the even bigger distraction is when you have a conference championship game coming up in December and all the players think their coach is leaving for the SEC or the ACC or whatever it may be. So my question is to you, Jeff. So we know in the Power 4, we know Napier's seat is on fire. Whether I'll say this about that. All offseason, Everybody was telling us how difficult Florida's schedule was, how it was going to be such a brutal season for them. Well, so what were you expecting to happen then? Like, you think they were going to win all those? I mean, everybody knew it was going to be bad coming in. You knew your team wasn't that good, talent-wise or whatever, and your schedule was difficult. So why are you surprised that it's not going great? And again, it might end up going great. We might find out who does Florida. They lost to Miami and Texas A&M. Is that it? Are they 1-2?
I'll tell you here in just a second.
I mean, and they beat a FCS opponent, I think.
Yeah, they're 1-2. They beat Samford. They lost to Miami. Lost to A&M.
They're 1-2, and they lost to Miami and A&M.
They got Mississippi State up next.
Well, we're gonna find out a lot there. Then here's the thing, but they're 1-2, and this goes the same for every fan base. When you look at, you have to let the season play out, because Miami and Texas A&M, I mean, a lot of people thought were playoff teams. A lot of people think Miami is a top 3, is one of the ones this year. A&M, everybody thought was going to be the one to beat Notre Dame. And then when Notre Dame beat A&M, it was like, oh my God, Marcus Freeman's got Notre Dame back. They're back. Then NIU beat them, and they just disregarded that. But A&M's already back in the rankings after they beat Florida. So Florida's so bad, A&M beats them, and A&M's ranked again. So the narrative is being pushed it's being pushed right in front of our face. But my thought is on that is like, look, if you're Florida, maybe you lost to Miami. Maybe Miami's a national championship contender. And at the end of the year, if Miami's 11-1, 12-0, playing for a national championship, you might be like, oh, that loss wasn't that bad, actually. I mean, it's what we've been saying about Middle. It's what we've been saying about Middle for like 4 years, when they went and got blasted by James Madison. And we were like, I mean, could have told you that was coming.
Yeah.
And then they lose to a Western Kentucky and a UTSA and a UAB, I think, that year. And we were like, yeah, that's the best 3 teams in the conference. That's the best 3 teams that they're going to play all season. So we're not going to be surprised when they rattle off 6 wins in a row. Now, Florida, I get it. You think they lost to Miami and A&M. They're not going to be able to beat the Georgias, the LSUs, those type of teams. But maybe. Well, and if you fire their guy, then you've completely given up on your season. Completely given up. Because he could, again, if the SEC is so damn good, you could win that conference with 2 losses, because everybody should have 2 losses.
That's exactly right. And the thing about the whole Napier situation is they wanted him fired before he stepped foot on campus. If you check Twitter when he got hired, they were not happy with that hire. They wanted the splash hire. And I think Napier was, we were talking about that entire season, like, you just hear the rumors. Teams are coming. Teams are calling for Napier. They want him. He's a good coach. He's built Louisiana into a great program. Reality of the situation is he's 12-16, 3 games into his 3rd year. I mean, when you look at it, he's almost 500. We got to see the rest of this year how it plays out. But let's not act like he basically didn't have a shot from the jump when he got to Florida, just solely based off of perception. And this is just how delusional the SEC, fan bases are. They want instant gratification, instant wins. And it just doesn't happen like that everywhere you go. Every situation is very, very different. And you got to wait and see. But I'll say this, Bet Online, the online sports book, they have as their favorite, plus 400, highest odds. Jamie Chadwell. I don't know. If they throw enough money at him, will he leave?
He might, but I don't. To me,
the Liberty
faithful doesn't strike me as a
no
Florida guy, as an SEC guy.
No, he doesn't. Well, I think the fact that they hired Napier from their group of 5 and it hasn't really worked bodes in his favor of not getting the opportunity.
Yeah,
because you'd have to have somebody really rational in that athletic department to think to go get a Jamie Chadwell, another group of 5 coach again. I think if they end up firing Napier, they're going to try and make a splash hire.
Well, these are the fans that want Florida State to go hire Deion Sanders.
That's exactly right.
And they want to go. They think that they want to bring back Steve Spurrier or something out of retirement. I mean, these are like again, you guys. I've said this on here. I grew up a Miami Hurricanes fan. I still have a bunch of Miami Hurricane fan friends. It's still all over my social medias and all that stuff. And these are the same people that they think that Miami can we need to hire Ed Reed as the head coach. And it's like, guys, just because a player was really good 20 years ago means absolutely nothing as far as what kind of coach it'll be. But they're so like just wrapped in names and like fame. I mean, these are the people that worship celebrities. It's really what we have happening here.
Yeah.
This is why we see Taylor Swift every weekend in the box at the Chiefs games, because people can't get enough of seeing a famous person. But anyway, Jeff, so
who else is on
outside
the hot
of
seat,
Chadwell
Sprouse?
on the hot seat?
Yeah.
Well, Norvell, they're saying, is on the hot seat, which, I mean, my God, they went undefeated a year ago. 1 year ago, they were undefeated, and now they've lost 3 games, and they want him out. But again, that's the same thing Florida did. Dan Mullen went like 11-2, and then the next year 6-5, and they fired him. And now they're mad at the next guy. Now you're on the next guy. So you just keep giving. And this is, I tweeted about this when everybody started talking about Cincinnati losing to Bama again in the playoff. Like that was the sample size. That was the example that should keep the group of 5 out of the playoff. And I made the point of, go look at the SEC coaches. How many of them have been at their school for more than 2 or 3 years at this point? I know it's not many. And it was simply because nobody could beat Nick Saban. So that's what these people have done. They're so delusional that they could not accept not beating Nick Saban every year. And so then they kept firing people and hiring people. And now here we are for Florida, 6-7 years later, 3 coaches later, you still haven't done anything. And that's what happens. And it's, maybe you got to let a guy build. Napier is a guy that is a program builder. And I mean, they've talked about it. He's very methodical, and I don't think he's one that's gonna, everybody thinks that you can just go to the portal, add 20 new guys, and be a contender right away. And they're not. So they have that mentality. So they can't accept, let's recruit some high school guys, develop them, get them into our culture, get them into our program, and let them be good in 2 or 3 years. And nobody can accept that now with this portal. And so if you're only going to give a coach 3 years, I mean, you haven't even given them a chance to develop a high school class.
Yeah.
So they would have had to hit in the portal. And if you're not a portal guy, I know Florida has gone to the portal a ton, don't get me wrong, but like, you're just not giving them any kind of chance to get it. But I don't know, Napier, Norvell.
Is Norvell warranted, you think?
No. That guy was, if you think they got snubbed out of a national championship a year ago, like, you're basically saying they were in the playoff. Like, if you're a Florida State fan, you think they belonged in the playoff last year. And so you're going to say that you were in the playoffs a year ago and you start out slow this year and you want them gone? That's insanity.
Yeah.
And again, like we always say, who are you going to go get? If you're Florida State, if you're Florida, you can probably get a lot of people. But when we talk to the group of 5 fans, everybody that wants to fire Sean Clark is always one that everybody wants gone. Who are you going to go hire? Like, who? Like, I just, like, who do they think is going to get there? That's my question. And we always talk about this. It's a different landscape, and you're probably not going to get a guy that's going to come in and be there for 20 years and win championship after championship after championship. Because if they do, they're going to get a blank check thrown at them. So I know, you want, if you're App State, you're like, well, Drinkwitz came for 1 year and they won the conference and whatever. But like, you get new coach after new coach after new coach. Eventually that's going to fall off too. That's not sustainable stuff. Now, that being said, I don't know. I mean, I would say Clark's seat's warming up a decent bit. I think it's not just the fact that they've lost or had close games when they didn't think they should. It's just Man, I told you, Jeff, I went back and watched some games, and they got some effort issues, I think, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and that's never good.
No, and that you never want to see that on film. And
Mhm.
I think Clark will get some of that. Maybe we hold some of these coaches in high esteem. So, like, when I see that, like, I feel like they're going to address it and get it fixed.
Yeah.
But the App State faithful, I don't know how their athletic department is, but they are a short fused bunch. There's not
They are.
much.
I tell you who else I
much they
saw.
put
This
up
is
with.
not Group of Five. You said what now?
I said they don't want to put up with a lot of
No, they don't.
losses and embarrassing moments. Like, they're quick to pull the trigger on, let's get somebody else in here.
I saw another one that is not Group of Five anymore, but I saw UCF Twitter.
Really?
Still follow a bunch of UCF people. They were wanting to Gus out, but then of course they came back and won. That's the other I mean, we don't even let a game finish before we want coaches gone, let alone a season.
I'll say this South Alabama Thursday night Sunbelt matchup is going to be big.
Yes, it is.
It is going to be big. App State needs to get a win, or that seat could be getting even warmer. But
yeah, well,
who?
Not only do they have to win, Jeff, they have to just look. They have to play good.
Yeah,
and that's because even in the ECU game they won, but you just found yourself like, man, let's like I tweeted that out. I said, which team wants to win this game?
Yeah,
because they kept throwing it back to each other. But anyway, as far as Group of Five coaches that I think will be hot names, Barry Odom, I think, is going to be one, especially because he was in the SEC for a little bit. Chadwell, I think Chadwell's, although he's got the highest odds for the Florida job, I think his name has fallen off a little bit. Now, if he was fresh off those Coastal years, I think he'd still be a really hot name, and he would be a more of a flashy hire because he was like the young, new, up-and-coming guy. I think that's worn off a little bit. GJ Kinney, I think, is going to be a hot name.
I hope he just stays where he's at.
I do too. I hope he stays in San Marcos too.
I got one.
Well,
for
John
you.
Summerall. I mean, one season at Tulane, maybe not, but again, I said that we've been saying this in the offseason. I think he was one SEC coach leaving away from being the next call, and he may have gotten some calls. I mean, I think we can probably confirm that he had gotten some calls and said F off. So love that. Who you got? Wait, you got another one?
Well, yeah, Summerall's on my list. I think him just getting the Tulane job, I think, kind of keeps him relatively safe. I think Jason Candle's a name that people are going to start talking about, and I don't know which vacancies up in Big Ten country will come available, because I feel like these
Michigan.
coaches are. I mean, that was one I definitely thought of, but what's his name? Harbaugh just left, so I think they'll probably give this guy at least a couple of years. You would think, but yeah, I think Jason Candle, what he's been able to do at Toledo, building that program, losing talent, but I mean, just being able to reload it. I mean, it just shows his ability to recruit not only in the high school level and develop players, but be able to use the portal to his advantage as well. So I think Jason Candle, and I know Dan the Rocket Man's in our chat this morning, doesn't want to see that, but he's got to be a name.
I'll tell you another one. I'll tell you another one that's actually going to probably be one that a Group of Five coach that the Florida fans would probably accept, and that's down there in Tampa, Alex Golish. And I think, and this is whether this is the right move or not, this is what everybody's going to say. Well, he was the offensive coordinator when Tennessee finally beat Bama. And then they're going to say, oh, he's been at South Florida 2 years, and both years they played Bama better than anybody's played them. That's what they're going to say. We want that here.
Yeah.
That's going to be your rationale for hiring the guy. Now, I think he's a fantastic coach, a great recruiter, obviously. But that can't be the only reason you hire a guy. But
Russ, I got a coach hot seat question for you.
Oh boy.
What about the other Norvell? You think his seat's getting a little warm?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the Colorado loss and just the view of everything, I don't think it helps. I think they've put a lot of money into this program, and they want to start seeing some results as they should. They're going to start getting into conference, but what's your take on that?
No, I agree 100%. And that's a place that has invested. So that's a we need to do this right now move. And that's why they brought him over from Nevada after they had a great season at Nevada. And I think you're right. I think sometimes it's not just losing. It's the way that you lose and the antics. The stuff BFN was doing, the stuff they were saying. Even I felt guilty for this because the first year I thought I loved it when Jay Norvell was like, I take my shades off like a grown up or whatever he said. I loved that. Now I'm starting to look at it as it's been 2 years now, and they were kind of doing stuff like that again. Pre-game, talking all this stuff, trying to get now. Maybe that's them trying to get more hype around the game to get more eyes on Colorado State because we know all the eyes are on Colorado and Prime. But you do that, and then you have the dumb penalties during the game, the late hits. You do he does the too small thing after a 1 yard run out of bounds. Like that stuff's embarrassing, to be quite honest with you, especially when you lose and you really don't have any success on the field at that point. And so yeah, I think so. I think absolutely. I mean, for what they're paying, the investments they've made, and so far you've not seen the results. Just and the inconsistency is not a good look. Trying to think who else. I mean, there's got to be. Surely there's. I'll tell you one that the fans want, and that's Coach Huff up at Marshall.
I love Coach Huff.
I do too. Did you see what he said about Ohio State? About the NIL deal they have, all you can eat.
Oh
yeah, I mean,
let me see if I can find that real quick.
That was a great clip. I mean, in Marshall, they play Ohio State this week. He basically was, I don't know, Jeff, sounded like tampering to me, but
well, they'll call it tampering.
No, they will. He'll get penalized for that, for saying those comments. But now Marshall plays Ohio State. Coach Huff, I think Marshall's very good this year. You got it?
Yeah, let me play this.
I feel good about the track we're on. Trust me, I know where we are, but I feel the track we're on, and I feel good about the players we have. Would love to have some of those guys from Ohio State too. So if they want to transfer on down, we've got a Tudor's Biscuit NIL, all you can eat. So if any of those guys that run really, really fast at Ohio State like Tudor's Biscuits, I promise you, all you can eat all day. If you transfer here. So, but yeah.
I don't know how to follow that.
I feel good about the.
So funny. Tudor's all you can eat biscuits.
Yeah. I think the fans, because he's been kind of combative with fans a little bit. So I think that's never a good look. I'll tell you, one that would have been a hot name. Again, he's been a name in the past, kind of in cycles, but this year's not looking good for him, is Troy Calhoun at Air Force.
Yeah.
I remember, fun fact, in like 2008 or 2009, the rumors were going around campus that he was going to take the Tennessee job, believe it or not. And then I'll never forget it. Came into the team meeting and he was like, "Boys, I'm your football coach." And everybody was like, "Yeah." Here we are 20 years later, guy's still there. So, one other thing I want to talk about as we got on some NIL stuff a little bit with Coach Huff's point. Did you see where Tennessee, our favorite program in the country, the 10% increase on tickets as a talent fee? Yep. Basically a tax so that they can use NIL. Now I get it. And
that money's not going to NIL. That's in preparation. Excuse me, in preparation for the revenue sharing. So that money will go to the university, and then that portion, or what I guess it's up to them, whatever they want to use for their revenue sharing, that's going to help support it.
Isn't that something, man? And that's kind of what I made reference to in the tweet. It's just like our government.
It's a microcosm.
We got this new program that we want to put together, and we waste so much money on, I don't want to get political, Jeff. I'll do it if I have to. But we waste all this money on wars and programs and,
Come on.
free vaccines and keep going.
Be careful.
and all these things. And then we charge we tax the American people for it, essentially. I mean, and that's what they're doing at Tennessee. Is we have this revenue sharing that only the very elites are going to really be able to do. And that's what Chad was talking about when we had him on last week. And instead of using the boatloads of money that they already have, or maybe shrinking their profit margin on tickets a little bit, they just raise the price and put it on the people. And unfortunately, you're going to have 101,000 people every Saturday that most of them can't afford it, and they're going to do it anyway because they love that damn program. They didn't go to school there. They don't live there. I mean, it's like they'll be mad about it too. They'll be tweeting about it. They'll be on Facebook. They'll be in their little Facebook groups complaining about the raising of ticket prices, but they're still going to love the damn Tennessee Volunteers, and they're still going to give their hard-earned money to them. They won't go to the middle game where they live. Hell, they won't even go to the Vanderbilt game where they live.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're going to see that come across the country. You're going to see everybody do that. You're going to see all these elite schools that actually can do revenue sharing are still going to increase the price.
Yeah, because they don't want to take the revenue sharing from their bottom dollar. They want to generate it from somewhere else. So this is going to be a big factor in it. And Mr. Juan's World in the chat says revenue sharing and NIL are essentially the same. So the difference in that is, yes, so when they do revenue sharing, they will have to follow Title IX regulations. So that some of that will have to go to women's sports. NIL will still be around. So NIL is a separate entity that generates revenue that goes directly to the players that the university does not have any control over. And then the revenue sharing will come directly from the university and be divvied out. So that's the difference there. They'll both still be around. I don't know if collectives will end up getting absorbed into the athletic department, still being a separate entity of the booster club. We'll see about that. But and then want to shout out the chat. We got quite a few people in there. Dan the Rocket Man is in there. Joe Judkins, Mr. Juan's World, Daniel Bremer, Josh is in there. Matt Hardigan, what's up, Josh? Jim Cowart. So a lot of people in that live chat. If you're listening or watching on Facebook or Twitter, hop over to the YouTube feed. Great stuff going back and forth. And Joe says, when we were talking about hot seat coaching, what about Trent Dilfer, UAB?
Got to be warm.
You think? I think they'll give him more time, though. They don't strike me as a program that wants to be bouncing around from coach to coach every 2 or 3 years. So I think he's got at least another year or two, unless they just completely nosedive this year.
Well, and the other thing to think about with a place like UAB is they don't have a super active, vocal fan base. So at least not on the social media. So, you know, if the athletic director and the university is not feeling the pressure from the fans, I mean, what do they really, I don't want to say what do they care? They want to win, of course, but they're not feeling that pressure. Where like at a place like App State, you know, you get a sellout crowd every game. I mean, you look at Florida, they're 90,000 strong booing Napier off the field.
Yeah.
So at some point, like, you know, again, you got to, we talk about these guys having to be rational to make the decisions they make. But at the same time, I mean, if your fan base begins to either not show up or not give their money, right? I mean, if you're trying to do these 10% ticket increases for a talent fee, your way to boycott or make a statement is to not go. I mean, I don't know, Jeff. I remember a program in a town called Murfreesboro where that was their way of wanting to get rid of stock, was to stop going to games.
Mm-hmm.
So but they won't stop going at these other places. Weird, isn't it?
That's very weird.
Anyway, we got to talk about this Thursday night game.
Big matchup, big Sunbelt matchup.
Yeah. By the way, I'm just reading a chat from Pokemon fan.
Yeah. What's up, Pokemon?
What was your favorite Pokemon? I'm surely you played it in your day, no?
Yeah, I used to. I never. I would collect the cards. I never actually played
Cards
the
is what I did.
card game.
No.
But they had a couple cool little games. Pokemon Snap back in the day was a decent little Pokemon game. And my kids still play Super Smash Brothers, so we'll hop on there. And favorite Pokemon?
Now don't give me some generic answer.
No,
Pikachu.
No. I always like Charizard.
Yeah, Charizard was
Dragon,
good one. If
come
you
on.
got the holographic Charizard card, that was the big money one
No doubt.
back in the day. I liked the what was the little blue, like the little dinosaur lizard, Bulbasaur, right? Isn't that what he was?
Yeah, Blastoise
liked
was
him.
like the
Yeah, when
upgraded
he evolved.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty good. I'll tell you what, dude. Hopefully I don't offend you here, Pokemon fan. I don't know what you do or how old you are or anything like that. But when you remember when the game on the phone came out, like this was maybe 2-3 years ago, maybe longer, when everybody was like hunting them in
you'd
public
be walking
spaces.
around.
Buddy, dude, I'd be walking down the sidewalk like we'd be downtown Columbus getting some food, getting something to get this. But I think this was before we even had kids. So this was probably like 5 years ago. And you'd have a family of 6 walking shoulder to shoulder, all staring at their phone, looking for the next Pokemon. And they'd be like, there he is. He's over there. And they'd start running to like a tree. And I'd be like, can I not sit here and have this drink in peace, for God's sake? But anyway, hey, I mean, I guess, you know what, dude? Hobby's a hobby. And I got hobbies that are probably I'm not good at, that I'm embarrassed of. Sometimes I'm playing golf on Friday for the first time in like a year and a half.
I'm playing golf
tournament, little Chamber of Commerce tournament. Got a little tea time. Anyway, huge game Thursday night. Early Sunbelt showdown. I think everybody, including us, had App State as a favorite in this conference. I think most people were sleeping on South Alabama. I believe we both had them as a dark horse in this conference, or maybe a contender in this conference. 7:30 Eastern time, ESPN. That's going to be another nice Thursday night showcase for the Sun Belt, though. I can tell you that. Texas State showed out last week on Thursday night with that crowd. We know App State's going to show out with their crowd. Cannot wait to see that. Right now, you've got App State favored by 7.5. You've got an over-under total of 64.5. And then if you go South Alabama money line, you're at plus 240. Jeff, I had to call you yesterday morning at like 7:30 a.m. to get something off my chest, and I'll tell the people what that was. I was in my garage getting a little workout in. I flipped on the YouTube, put on some highlight films, put on some tape, and I made the mistake of watching App State Clemson. And then I watched App State ECU. And I've never been in the Sean Clark hot seat camp. I'm not saying I am now. However, I understand. Because when I watch Clemson run I always call it the worst play in football, but that stupid bubble screen or fast screen. And then they catch them like 3 times by doing a fake bubble screen and a go. You know, the guy comes inside like he's going to block, slips out right down the sideline. And the expression like stuck in the mud is what every single defensive back for App State looked like in that game. This is the Clemson game. And then their safeties would be right there, would not be fooled by the fake. And then when the ball got there, it was like they just it looked like a glitch in a video game, Jeff. Like they just if you're not watching, you won't be able to see what I'm saying. They just duck their head and like reach out, look like my 2-year-old trying to like chase me and hug me, you know, and I'm just backpedaling. And I'm like, how? That's why you get 35-0 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
And then I think, well, you know, they beat ECU. Let me flip that one on. And on the very second play of the game, the same thing happens. And ECU just throws a deep bomb right over their heads. And I don't know if it's they're not playing the ball or they're like, I know that's the people that want Clark gone. What do they always say? What does Tripp always say? Not prepared. Unprepared. This is the most unprepared I've ever seen App State. And I'm watching those two games because, we were in San Marcos when they played Clemson. We didn't really get to see that game fully.
It also got
and
out of
then,
hand quick.
Well, yeah, by the time we went from stadium to restaurant, it was 35-0. And we were like, well, and then the restaurant didn't have ESPN. Never forget that. Never go back to that place, huh? Good food, though. They had good food. And matter of fact, no, I won't go back there because the waitress and waiters walked by like 5 times holding our food. And we were like, yeah, hey, that's ours. And they're like, no, it's not. And they walked back to the kitchen. And then we're like, then they came back and they were like, who had I don't even know what we got. Those mozzarella sticks, basically.
Potato puffs.
Potato
poppers.
kegs or something like that.
Kegs.
They're called potato poppers. And they came back again. They're asking everybody at the bar, and we're like seated in the bar section, right?
We're like
seat wherever
right
on a high table right in front of, and we're like, hey, we had those. And they're like, no, not yours. Like 3 times, Jeff. Anyway, and they didn't have ESPN, and it wasn't a DirecTV issue because they had ABC and they had like ESPN news on watching.
They had poker, World Series of Poker
watching
on.
poker. Yeah. Anyway,
back to Clark.
So, dude, I don't know about this App State team. I also watched South Alabama versus North Texas, and they couldn't stop anybody. That game was score for score pretty much until South turned it over late and let them score again and go up by 2 scores. So I don't know. We might have a high scoring affair here. What are your initial thoughts on this?
Initially, we were very high on App going into the season, and I'm not ready to completely jump off that wagon. ESPN's got them as the favorite. 53.1% analytics say that they're going to be the winner. And Boone's a hard place to play at. So it's hard to really gauge this game. Josh in the chat does say check the weather could be a factor. Maybe there's some weather rolling up there. We'll have to keep an eye on that.
That'll favor App, you'd think.
You would think it would. But App just hasn't looked like the team that we thought they were going to be. Having all the returners on both sides of the ball, just not really showing up. They haven't been able to run the ball effectively. And now I love Aguilar, and they got, Robinson and Horn on the outside, who are their 2 top receivers again this year, able to make plays, but you just want to see them be a little more balanced than they've been these first 2 weeks. And maybe that's because they got blown out at Clemson. So you have a whole game where you're really not running the ball, and you probably couldn't run the ball very well anyways. But a lot of the talk on social media is their offensive line's not playing well. And that's not a good.
That's supposed to be one of their strong suits. It always is.
I know, and so that's not a good recipe. That worries me a little bit for App's sake. Now, I think once again, I don't necessarily know why, but South Alabama is just kind of underperformed a little bit because they got talent. Gio Lopez is a dual threat quarterback. I love how they've been using him in the quarterback run game. I think he needs to be a little smarter. And I know he's a big physical guy. Get down when you need to. Now, if you need a first down and it's 3rd and short, yeah, stick your nose in there. But I think far too often he's taking too many hits. You're the starting quarterback for this team. You got to be smart. You can slide. There's nothing wrong with it. And there's situations where you need to go get those yards. Go get it because you can. But, man, he has not thrown an interception. He has not turned it over. He did miss week 2 with a toe injury. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. But Jamal Pritchett, South Alabama's receiver, might be one of my favorite receivers in the entire country. This kid is dynamic. He's special. He is a playmaker. Look, and if App State's Achilles heel so far has been giving up big plays, let me read you this. Let me read you these stats. All right,
read them.
Jamal Pritchett and Devin Voisin are averaging 14 yards a catch so far this year. What's even crazier is Jeremiah Webb, their 3rd leading receiver, is averaging 24 yards per catch. So if big plays are an issue for App State, I think South Alabama has more than enough proven in their first 3 games that they can have big explosive plays, which worries me for App.
Jeff, I had in my notes here to give you a Prize Picks pick of the week. If you don't have Prize Picks, download the app, use our code GOFG. They will match your first time deposit up to $100. They've got Jamal Pritchett at reception yards 71.5. I mean, Jeff, there's a strong chance he gets that on the first play of the game.
I mean, if history is
the way that's
tells
been
anything.
going. Yeah. I mean, you're right about South, and they've been like this now for a couple years, where you're just not sure why they're not performing. I do think, Gio Lopez misses a game with an injury against Ohio, right? And they come back last week and scored 90 points against Northwestern State. I think, the weather, I didn't know about the weather, so that's kind of throwing me off a little bit now. And if history tells us anything, App State will just look terrible, and then all of a sudden they'll just start winning and keep winning. So I'm not sure where to go with this.
You're looking at a 57% chance of thunderstorms in Boone, North Carolina tomorrow.
I mean, Gio Lopez might tear him up with his feet.
That's what I was thinking. If it becomes a game where it's, raining and the balls are, footballs are wet, he's more than capable of running quarterback power, zone read, all those QB run plays that gives you an extra blocker in the box, another defender or another offensive player you got to worry about. That could favor South. I'll tell you what, 7.5. I love that. If you're looking for a bet,
100%, I love that.
Take the plus 7.5. I don't know what the money line is.
With the weather, if it's raining, you're liable to see more running of the ball. Quicker game, less scoring. Maybe the weather affects South to where they can't go get those big plays that everybody's been getting against App. Maybe App finds their identity and starts pounding the rock. Earlier I said take the over on 64.5 on a high scoring. Now I'm sitting here as we're talking it out thinking, I might get a similar game to the ECU game. Just kind of sloppy, ugly game. I would take South 100% plus 7.5. I want to pick them to win, Jeff. I really do. Then the only reason the only fear that I have is because this is what App State does. This is what they do every year. They look terrible, and then they just start. At some point in the season, it clicks, and it starts, and they start winning. And South, every time I pick them,
they don't show up.
They don't show up. So I don't remember if I thought they would beat North Texas. I'm fairly certain I picked them to beat Ohio, even without Gio Lopez. You know what, Jeff? Give me the Jags.
Ooh.
Give me the Jags money line here, Jeff. I don't know. I'm disgusted by what I watched from App State's defense the last couple of weeks. I'm telling you, I had to call guys. You guys don't know this. We don't do the show on Tuesday, and I'm a 7 days a week, wake up at the same time kind of guy. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, I get up at 5. Do some light reading sometimes. Drink a pre-workout. I don't go with the Deca Gray. I go with a pre-workout. So we need like 300 milligrams of caffeine for those. So we drink that. I get out in the garage, and that's when I'm watching games. I'm rewatching games, trying to do a little workout in. And I called Jeff immediately after I was done. And I said, Jeff, are you sitting down? I got something that's going to piss you off. He thought I was quitting Group of 5 guys.
I thought this was going to be solo.
Group of Jeff. And I said, Jeff, I just watched App State play Clemson, and it was so bad. I was visibly upset for like 3 hours after that. And this is becoming a problem. We talked about this weekend, Jeff. Being a Group of 5 guy and a neutral-ish fan, and I'm an emotional fella. What did you say on Saturday? It's like being the fan of 60 bad teams.
I mean, every game, especially when it's against like a Power 4 program, because you're rooting so hard for the Group of 5. Like, even we were watching that UNLV game last Friday night. Scarlett, we're watching it on the couch, and she goes, "I can't do this." She's like, "I already have to go to Johnny Red and see that debacle over there. She's like,
Bad enough we got middle and the Dolphins and Raiders. All right. I mean,
jeez, the teams we choose to follow.
Yeah, it's bad, especially this past weekend when it was Thursday, Friday, noon, 3:30. So it was just every time slot. There was another one.
Get ready
Group
again.
of 5 versus P4. Yeah, we got another one. Yeah, dude, I'm gonna take the Jags. And so if I'm saying that, I think you can make a safe bet that they're gonna completely lay an egg.
I'm gonna take App because they're at home, and I'm not yet ready to give up on them. But for betting purposes, if you want some good value, that money line South, it wouldn't shock me if they show up and their offense gets rolling. But I'm going to take App at home because that's a tough out. I think Sean Clark is a great coach. I think he's going to have these guys ready, and you got the California kid and Joey Aguilar. So take App in a close one. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, hopefully, I know the App faithful will be there, probably regardless of the weather. I think this is a really good showcase for the Sun Belt again, because I think hopefully you get Matt Berry and Dan Mullen on the call again. I think they did other than the fact that they were completely disrespectful, I thought,
to the Sun Belt,
to the Sun Belt. They do a decent job calling the game, and this is something that I've always said. If the game's on the main ESPN with an A or a B team color crew on the call, and a full stadium, it doesn't look like some small-time football like everybody thinks it's going to be. That Texas State-Arizona State game last week looked like it was 2 powerhouse programs playing. And that's what happens when you have a production and professionals on the call. And that's one of the reasons you got to fill the stadium. That's what G.J. Kinney said. We want to have a good show, and we want it to look good. When the camera pans across our student section, we want it to be full.
The one thing I'll say, Sprouse, is if I can just interject into that, that UNLV broadcast, and I don't know, maybe it was because they were at a soccer stadium, the camera work was not good. There were multiple times where the camera was going one way and the ball was going the other, or they went to pan and like they got like the crowd and you couldn't see the play. So maybe we're chalking that up to being in that weird kind of stadium, but I don't know.
Does Kansas play there? What,
no, so their stadium's getting rebuilt.
One.
They're tearing down their old one and building a new one. So I'm pretty sure it's a soccer stadium. So maybe that had to do with it, but it was piss poor.
Looks stupid. All you soccer fans out there, what an ugly stadium.
It's communist sport.
Yeah, jeez. You know what though, now that I think about it, apps, the camera is on the away side. I don't like that. I think when stadiums are being built and stuff, I think they need to. It should be the opposite, no? Shouldn't it be on the home? Well, I guess apps.
Usually it's on the press box side.
But app student section is on the home side. It's just not normally like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Because their students sit behind the home bench on the home side.
Yep.
Where at Texas State, their students sit on the away side.
Most student sections are behind the visiting bench.
Yeah, I think they should be. And that's where the camera's going to be. So anyway, but it will be interesting because that side is not always packed out at App. There's no way Joe Judkins likes soccer. Ain't no way.
Not a chance.
Soccer, it's the way, dude. It's the new sport.
No, I'm just joking.
Pretty soon, group of 5 guys, we'll be talking about soccer on here pretty soon. Might as well. You can't hit it. You can't. Not allowed to touch a quarterback. We need to talk about that maybe next week. If the officiating,
that's officiating.
This is something that I know we can all agree on. I've seen every media personality, even Josh Pate, who is right now he's like enemy number 1 in the group of 5. Although I do think I've told you this, I think if we had a conversation with the guy, I think he's irrational. I think he's in our camp of there's like 10 teams that are different. Yeah. And he every time somebody says something about like Wake Forest, he's like, they suck too. So I don't know. So maybe, but I mean, him, any of the Barstool people, any of the ESPN people, the officiating has been so bad. Terrible. And these targeting calls, the problem with the targeting call is it's not just a bad call. It's such a momentum changing call, and it's so like subjective, and it's you're not only giving somebody it's like we said last week, you're turning a negative play for the offense. More than likely, it's a sack type play, sack, fumble, interception, something. You're turning it into a first down, and you're removing the player that just made a good play from the game.
And a lot of times it's like the
Mike
player.
linebacker.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's captain of the defense making the play. And it is just such a bad rule, number one. And the way that they call it is bad. Everybody can agree on it. Last thing, I know we got voicemails to get to, Jeff. One more. I brought up Barstool, and it made me think about it. They finally coming around. You see old boy Brandon Walker, who I think is one of the worst. I mean, and they got this other guy, and he sounds just like him. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway,
like they got
I guess he's a Mississippi State fan. He said, I don't think there's a player on Mississippi State that would start at Toledo. And my thought is, have we finally come around to realize that lumping every school into the entire conference narrative is wrong? Have we finally come to realize it? Because these guys look at the MAC like everybody in the MAC is Akron and Ball State, right? No offense, no disrespect to them. And everybody looks at the SEC like it's Alabama and Georgia, when the reality of it is I would say more of the MAC is closer to Toledo, Miami, NIU, and the SEC. And, Mississippi State's down pretty bad right now, but it's definitely not close to Alabama and Georgia. And you'll see Mississippi State win a couple SEC games, I bet you, or at least be in some close ones.
Yeah, and that was an absolute bludgeoning. The Rockets put on the Bulldogs, and that's the only reason why Brandon Walker actually said that, because he's a fan. I don't know. Did he go to school at Mississippi State? I have no idea, but
surely. I mean, Mississippi State's not one of those SEC fan bases where I don't think. I think they're Ole Miss fans before they're Mississippi State fans. Yeah. Anyway, how many voicemails we got, Jeff?
We have 3. One of
three voicemails.
One of them being possibly have a rap.
A rap? A song?
Yeah.
Is it somebody we know?
No.
Really?
Second time calling in. I'll just leave it at that.
Really? We don't know him?
Nope. He called in last week, I believe.
Really? This is very intriguing. We might have a new segment that we can start doing. Are you going to play it right now, or are you going to play it last?
I'll play it last.
All right. Let's get to these voicemails, guys. Keep calling the hotline. Thursday night, I don't want Stu to be the only one that calls this hotline, no matter how he's feeling.
Let's get some South fans to call it.
Yeah, let's get some South fans. 615-900-4286. Hottest take, trash talk. If you got some insight, look, we say it all the time. You guys know more about what's going on at your particular school than we do. I mean, we try to watch these games. I got this YouTube thing. I'm trying to watch them all, but you still can't see everything. Injuries, stuff like that. Let us know. Call the hotline. Let the world know. 615-900-4286. Jeff, let's hear them.
Group of 5 guys. Baker Lloyd calling again. Just have to say my positivity efforts last week calling in before the game changer. We won, baby. And I mean, here I am again. We're Tuesday night right now. We got a big game on Thursday this week, so had to get in early. And got Thursday and Friday off, heading to Boontown to check out the Mountaineers. South Alabama, I'm not as high on them as you guys are, but I mean, hey, you never know. They could have something. I don't know. Hard to tell, because it's like they played like the crap of the earth last week and absolutely dominated them. And then before that, I think they lost to Ohio, who had a close game with Syracuse. I don't know. Hard to say on them, so we'll probably find out a little bit about both this week. But hey, super happy we pulled out the win against ECU the other day. That was a fun environment, fun game, man. So looking forward to hopefully having more of those soon. Hey, I got a question I'm curious about you guys' answer on. What do you think when it comes to Sun Belt versus American here in the near future? It feels like the American thinks that they're going to poach from the top of the Sun Belt, and the Sun Belt tends to think they may want to poach some teams from the American at some point. Who's going to give first? Would love to hear your answer. Go Apps. Looking forward to a good game this week.
Appreciate you, Baker. That's a good question.
Maybe, I don't know. The teams that are in the Sun Belt right now, I think the only ones that are outliers, I guess, that maybe, like, I feel like the Sun Belt is set up so good right now. It's with these like historic traditional programs. You know, maybe a Georgia State, maybe a Texas State is maybe not the most fitting for the Sun Belt. So I could see them going to the American. I mean, I think Texas State seems like they're probably going to be a hot one in the next year or two to get poached by somebody.
I mean, they got to continue their success. That's the thing. Like, I mean, before Kenny got there, it had been tough sledding pretty much since they had moved up to FBS. And they're the closest, like, West, I believe.
Yeah.
Sun Belt
Well,
team.
and I don't know anybody from the American that would be a Sun Belt type. I mean, you're not going to, yeah.
Because that would be that would fit in, you know. Clark talked about playing them. That game should be played every year. It could be a conference game. Mr. Wandsboro wouldn't like that, but
I'll tell you who would be good in the Sun Belt.
Liberty
would be. Boy, they don't want to hear it. Liberty. I would also. I know there was talk of this last year, but Western and Middle go back.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing, and I forgot to mention that earlier when we were talking about teams going to the Pac-12. I think these teams. You brought this up last offseason. They're jumping at the first opportunity. So, you know, if Memphis and Tulane were to go to the Pac-12, but like, I think their fans think they should be in the Big 12, or even, you know, in ECU and them, they think they should be in the ACC. So, do you really want to make a move that's another group of five? Like, I get it, the TV money or whatever, but surely there's going to be more openings, because surely you're going to see at some point Clemson, Florida State, Miami, North Carolina maybe go to the SEC or the Big Ten even. I think you could see Florida State and Clemson go to the SEC. I think you could see Miami, North Carolina go to the Big Ten. And then what? Any of those teams could be ACC teams. But then see, that's what I don't get about the whole entire thing. Like the draw of the Big 12 was Texas and Oklahoma. So now you go to the Big 12 and you don't
Utah.
There's not the big brand anymore. So I don't know. Anyway, I don't know who's going to fold. Hopefully nobody, dude. Hopefully some teams stay still for a minute.
Yeah, I think once revenue sharing gets implemented, I think at that point everything is going to change, and it's going to go to, you have schools that, I think the threshold's 23 million. The universities that can afford 23 million and up will go that way, and the ones that are 23 million and less, they will be over here. Because I don't see how you can have a university that can afford 5 million and then a university that can afford 40 million in the same conference. So who knows? This all could be for nothing and just be thrown out the window in a couple years. So we'll see.
Absolutely.
Let's keep it rolling. Got two more.
Group of five guys, Sarah Johnson here, and damn, that was a great college football weekend. Creme brulee, sorry your boys at Texas State couldn't get it done, but Texas State, you know, they going to be great. They might be in the championship game coming up at the end of the year with Sun Belt. They could still probably get that outside bid for that playoff spot. UNLV is the Big 12 champ. Shout out to them. I'm about to start a dynasty with them in college football 25. Georgia State, Georgia State with all the conference realignment, Georgia State just takes one of the Tennessee spots. Beat Tennessee a few years ago, beat Vanderbilt. Georgia State, shout out to them. SBC. Yes, the Sun Belt is the SEC of G5 conferences. I don't care what Zach Green says. We are. But shout out to the MAC. Toledo got it done. You know, Brandon Walker, can't wait to hear his ass on social media, on his show, talking about G5. That is, Mississippi State puppies got their asses fucking whooped, son. Up and down the fucking field. Up and down the fucking field, man. That was awesome. Shout out to Toledo, man. Memphis, I mean, they just showed us what Florida State, we already knew about Florida State. You know, so shout out to them. I think they're in the driver's seat for the playoff spot, but NIU and UNLV aren't that far behind. And, you know, I just hate, well, I tell you this, man, I hate that Jay Norvell and Colorado State just couldn't at least keep it close with Colorado. I don't think, you know, Kyle Nicolosi didn't really play a very good game, missed some off-target throws to Torrey Horton, and, you know, you expect that game to be close. So now everybody's going to say that Colorado's back for beating Colorado State, who honestly is not the best, not really one of the top teams in the Mountain West, in my opinion. But they're going to the Pac-12, so I guess what do I know? Tulane and Tech lost, so I'm always happy about that, especially Tech, who blew a 2-score lead against the North Carolina State team, who, you know, Grayson McCall was out, even though Grayson McCall isn't really that good of a quarterback anyway. I mean, Chadwell was really the driving force of that. You know what? Hey, the Cajuns got coming up this week, playing the stinky Wade down in New Orleans, so who knows how that's going to go. I advise if you guys can come down, I won't be there. See if you can try out, you know, the cheapest beer in college football, because Tulane doesn't have the cheapest beer. The Raging Cajuns of Lafayette, Louisiana do. All right? So thank y'all. God bless Group of Five. God bless Group of Five, guys. Hopefully we can get it done this Saturday, but I'm holding my breath. Hopefully my boys prove me wrong. Go Cajuns.
I'll tell you what, that is going to be a epic matchup. Tulane, Louisiana. We'll preview that game on Friday.
Extremely underrated game.
Extremely underrated. I hope the Cajun faithful show up for that one.
They better. Jeff, I'm too excited for this next one. This is a rap song now, you're saying?
Well, it's more of a what do you call that?
Poem?
No, it's a rap. I mean, there's no music behind it. It's what do you call it? Acapella. Yeah, freestyle. That's the word I was looking for.
Wow.
Gosh, sound old right there. What's that word that the young kids use?
Jeez.
Freestyle. Oh well, might as well get to it. Juice is on the loose, baby.
Is that what that's? Juice. They don't say who they are.
Juice. That's his name.
Wow. All right, let's hear it.
Group of Five, guys, this is Juice, that's my name. And I just called you to talk about Tulane. Yeah, these last few years we've been up on the rise. And which coach Summerall, now we looking fly. We got 3 quarterbacks and all start with E. And Mario Williams catching balls in the breeze. No one else in our conference really got a chance. With the 12-team playoff, we might see you at the dance. We've been looking good up against the big boys, showing all you suckers that we ain't no little toy. Now we're waiting to see if we join the Pac-12, but whatever, we will sure prevail. Yeah, man, this is Juice, man. Tulane looked all right against Oklahoma, even though we didn't pull it off in the end, but I just wanted to call and rap with you.
Appreciate it, Juice.
Unbelievable.
First ever rap.
Wow, I like the kid in the background going, "Hey!" Wow,
it's awesome. Appreciate you, Juice. Yeah, we'll see
phenomenal.
If the Green Wave can get it done. They need a win. They need to get back on the win side of things.
They do. Yeah, because they got what conference play starting next week or what? It got to be.
Yeah, it's got to be week 5. At that point.
Yeah, I mean, because they got to get some momentum going. They got to get some wins. I mean, Mensa, he's looked pretty good, but he's got to get some wins under his belt now.
He does.
And they got to get they got to get some confidence going because, you know, that, yes, we've been talking about that Thanksgiving Day game versus Memphis, but there's going to be some other ones in there. There's going to be, you know, the Americans, a good conference. Florida. South Florida, going to be nice, going to be special. Well, that's all we got for voicemails, Jeff.
That's it.
That's all we got for this show today. Big game tomorrow night, Thursday night. We will be watching. So call that hotline. We'll be on Twitter. We'll be probably live tweeting the thing. South Alabama at App State, 7:30 Eastern time on ESPN. We will catch you Friday morning, 6 a.m. Eastern time, live as always. We'll recap that game. We'll preview Saturday game. I think it's safe to make the announcement that, look, we try to get everywhere, but we always talk about being loyal to the school you went to. We went to Middle Tennessee. We're going to the homecoming game on Saturday. They're playing Duke. A little storyline. A lot of storyline. Duke's entire coaching staff was at Middle at one point, which is crazy because I was told, Jeff, that Coach Stock didn't hire good coaches. I'll tell you what he did is he hired them before they were well-known coaches.
That's right.
And didn't have the assistant coach salary pool to pay him. Now, I'm not saying he would have kept Manny Diaz, but Justin Watts, I don't know. Was App State
Simmons
paying Justin Watts a whole lot more than Middle was paying him? I don't know, but probably a little bit.
Hopefully we can catch up with those guys on Saturday.
Yeah, hopefully we can catch up to those guys. A lot of storylines. We'll probably be doing a show Saturday morning also at some point. Just stay tuned on that because your boy's got a golf tournament Friday. So it just depends on how, much fun I have. This is with work people. So, I don't know. It's supposed to be networking.
Pipe it down the middle, man. Just keep in the middle of the fairway. You'll be all right.
I haven't played in a long time, Jeff. Like, for real, a long time. So I'm a little nervous. I'll probably be better. This is what happens with golf. I'll probably go out there and be like, I got no pressure. I haven't played in a long time.
That's right.
And I'll stroke that first tee shot. And then I'll be like, oh, I'm playing good today. And then I'll start really trying, and I'll be horrible.
Downhill, yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing. My goal, look, make it through 18 holes, 18 balls. One ball a hole I can lose. That's the goal. But anyway, hey, we appreciate you guys joining us on that live chat. Make sure you follow us on all the social platforms at Group of Five Guys. Subscribe to the channel, whether it be YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcasts. Download the Varsity app by Learfield. You can listen to the show for free on there. Most importantly, tell your family and friends all about us. Can't wait to see you Friday morning. Have a good rest of the week.